Hello everyone, and thank you for joining me for the full moon forecast on May 14th at 23 degrees 55, just about 25 degrees, 24 degrees of Scorpio. Okay, well, you know how I am about looking at these aspect lines, and this is definitely some kind of three-dimensional sphere. Of course, it's pivoting on the Jupiter-Pluto opposition, and we're still dealing with the cardinal crosses going on here. But what draws me in is it seems so 3D because we've got this, it's all pivoting on, really at the Jupiter's the high point. And isn't that say a lot? Isn't that telling? Because Jupiter is the high point in all this. And it's trining down to this Pisces, so it's almost giving this a three-dimensional look to it, and it feels as if it's spinning on this axis. So this diamond is setting up. I know it's the Grand Cross, and I know it's the cardinal squares and everything, but sometimes you just got to take a look at it from a different perspective and a looser view. You know what? It's almost like I just came to me, like when you're drawing, when you learn how to draw. You learn how to line drawing and specific thing and perspective and all this kind of stuff. But sometimes if you want to see the subtler tones and you want to see the light, you have to blur your eyes. You have to squint your eyes and blur your eyes. And that's almost what I want to say is why I go to these aspect things. It's like I'm blurring my eyes and I'm seeing beyond what's right in front of your face, because there's more there. There's much more there. I'm sure there's much more there that I'm not even getting. But this is something. This is something. Okay, well, let's get down to some nuts and bolts astrology. Things that is happening that day. The exact aspect that day is the Venus square Pluto at 13 degrees of Capricorn and 13 degrees of Aries. Well, that's the Pluto-Uranus square being reactivated, obviously, in this Grand Cross. And Venus is definitely conjunct Uranus. As a matter of fact, Venus will be conjunct Uranus the next day. And there's a whole bunch of Mercury aspects happening that day, too, if you just look right in the an aspectarian. Now, where is that Mercury? Up here at 12. So a day after this full moon in Scorpio, these are all going to be lining up here in a sextile, which is harmonious. And before I get too far off the base of this Pluto-Uranus square, how it's being reactivated, Venus coming in is a wonderful thing. Because Pluto-Uranus, we know there's been a lot of conflict. It's change, but it's been coming about by, again, I've said this before, the two horned creatures, the goat and the ram, and they want to lock horns. What do rams and goats do? They butt up against each other. They butt heads and they lock horns with each other, and that's what's been happening, I want to say. So now that Venus energy is starting to move in there, that's a really nice vibe. That's going to lend itself to some nice Venus energy. And yes, there's a whole bunch of oppositions. A wide orb to Mars, but really what it's opposing over here is these asteroids. We've got Vesta and Ceres over here in Libra. So, but it's still Libra energy. It's still Venusian. It's still Venus. And the Sun has just moved into Taurus. So there's the Venus energy is there. So I'm feeling like this can, again, be changed, but in a more harmonious way, or conflict resolved, or possibly compromised reached because of this. Now, because we're in that sextile, this is all sextiling to Mercury, Uranus's and Venus's. This is something too, and these things are going to trine it up here. Mercury, what is Mercury but through speaking? Through mental clarity, by not being convoluted and underhanded and leading people astray, speaking clearly, speaking in terms that are understandable, relatable. Mercury is your buddy, your neighbor, and Mercury is in its home sign, or its own sign of Gemini here. So that's significant. Mercury is more powerful. I feel all planets are more powerful when they're in their home sign. So Mercury is in Gemini, and Mercury is making a sextile. It's being able to interject some different ways of thinking about things, saying pleasing words with Venus, not saying confrontational words with Pluto Uranus or Pluto Mars, to get to this ultimate outcome up here of the Jupiter being the high point again. It just is, it's the high point. And Mercury is like a shared high point, actually. If you just looked at this wheel, this East Coast wheel, you could say, okay, well, yeah, well, this is a high point up here. But look at what's high point. If you want to just look at it that way, look at this wheel. You've got Jupiter above the horizon on the top of the chart. You've got Mercury, you've got the Sun. The combination of Jupiter, Mercury, and Sun, this energy is definitely negotiations, talking, reaching agreements, reaching harmonious agreements. Also, again, that could be very much expression, clear expression, self-expression, creative expression. Again, I feel like people who have been blocked or been experiencing these blocked energies, it's starting to open up here. But, it is the full moon. And the full moon, it brings things to culmination. It ends things, so it can be ending. But maybe what it's ending is not so bad. Maybe it's ending the strife of the Pluto-Uranus square. Maybe it's not ending it, but this Venus infusion and this Mercury infusion is very nice. It's going to make change easier. Scorpio also, the full moon. That is the enlightenment, shining the light, seeing that light. Having illumination, it's going to shine a light on something. Scorpio, normally that's the deep, dark, dirty secrets. Can be sexual in nature. These are the things that Scorpio's ruled over, death. So that could be a lot of things. But having enlightenment about it, having some understanding, having some clarity. I also want to point out that it is in a wide orb conjunction with Saturn. Saturn's retrograding, but it's at a wide orb conjunction. And I want to say that we're going to have to look at when Saturn goes direct, when it comes back and hits this point. I feel like that's going to be significant because it's here now, and there's something about the timing between now and then after Saturn goes direct and hits this 23, 24 degree mark. I think there's going to be some connection or something going on there. But again, Saturn is heavy. Saturn is karmic. Saturn has been in Scorpio. Saturn has been pulling up all the deep, dark dirt on everything, But what's happened with Saturn being in Scorpio too? I think more than ever, like gay marriage, it's sexuality, Gay marriage is being accepted. Transgender people are being accepted. So it's pulling it out. And what else it's pulling out? The deep, dark, dirty secrets. I was thinking about this the other day, that some of these people that are so adamantly, like against gays, for instance. Let's take that as an example. Somebody who's so against gay marriage and against gay people. And then they're the ones that are doing the secret handshakes in the bathrooms there. So this is this deep, dark, it's their own deep, dark secret, their own deep, dark shame. And I think that may be true. Actually, what it's coming from, I'm trying to understand some of these haters on YouTube. And why are they so crazily hating on, and adamantly denying everything? Is it the same case? Are they actually psychic themselves and are ashamed of it or hate it so bad? Or, where is that even coming from? But that's, that's another day. But I think that's a lot of the vibe of this full moon in the Scorpio and the Saturn too. And Saturn is authority imposed things, back to the gay thing. But it can apply to a lot of different things. We're using this as an example. Authority said that gay was bad, and they make the rules, and they're the ones in power. Saturn, they're the old establishment. Well, Scorpio's coming through there, and it's saying, hey, you got plenty of things in your closet. Don't push anybody back in the closet till you've looked in your own closet here, because there's plenty of stuff in there that we can dig up on you too, and transforming it. The thing about Saturn does never leave you just hanging. You're not going to end up just hanging in the breeze with Saturn. Saturn can be destructive. It can take things away. My interpretation of Saturn is always it's the qualities of like a big giant brick or cement. And it comes by, and if something's too weak to withstand the weight of Saturn, it'll crumble under its presence. It will just be dissolved and be crumbled. But Saturn's not going to leave you laying there with no foundation. Saturn always brings in a new foundation. So therefore, Saturn in Scorpio is going to bring in a new, well, views about sexuality, for sure, with Scorpio. You know, maybe that's why I keep talking about the gay marriage, or transgender, or any other people that are still, you know, discriminated against because of their sexual preferences. But also, just the status quo. You know, that's the Saturn. That's the structure of our society, you know. So Scorpio's going to dig up some dirt, make a change, and make a new foundation. And with Saturn, it always is usually a Saturn cycle. 28 years. But sometimes, you know, with these things, it's 7, 8 years, too. Those quarter turns, I note, that are pretty strong with Saturn energy. But Moon and Scorpio, everybody could be very psychic or have some illumination. And what I'm feeling about it is just having to do with other people. Or, I mean, it could be about yourself. I mean, that's a distinct possibility. But what I'm feeling like, it's just some kind of, with this Jupiter and Cancer stuff going on here too and everything, understanding about people and having compassion for people, you know. So maybe the old man over here is this, you know, Pluto Capricorn. The old man is this old crabby curmudgeon, and, you know, he's always griping and bitching, or whatever the case may be. Or, okay, here's a good example. This isn't as prevalent anymore, but this was definitely prevalent. Many people were alive who went through the Depression. I mean, there still are people alive who went through the Depression, but we used to wonder, well, why are they so cheap and so pinching pennies and worried about getting that last drop of toothpaste out of the toothbrush, or the toothpaste tube and everything? Well, it's because they went through horrible scarcity. They went through the Depression. So it's like that. Instead of saying, oh, God, you're so cheap, you know, geez, throw the toothpaste out already. You know, you can say, well, I can understand why they're so rigid, or why they're so... there is a rigidity about it all, too. Pluto and Capricorn, Saturn and, you know, Scorpio over here. And this Aries energy always is a breath of fresh air. It always is the new generation, the young people, the innovators. And with Uranus, it is, you know, the generation that's on the internet and on their cell phones and streaming video and everything all the time like that. So, again, relating it back to the Venus, too, that's another factor in, you know, old man Pluto over here, old man Saturn, you know, maybe we could have a little bit more understanding about where they're coming from. We don't have to agree with them, but we also don't, maybe they're, you know, they don't have to agree with us either. You know, maybe you can just be tolerant. Understand where they're coming from, understand that they grew up in a different time. Another thing is the energies have changed. You know, even from when I was a child till now, the energy is so different. And can you imagine somebody of that generation, how the energy must have been, you know, back in those days? Even more dense, even more patriarchal, grounded in oppression, you know. Because this is all about, people were very oppressed, you know, and very much under the thumb of the powers that be in those days. And now we have so much more freedom. So, you know, these are some things to consider. Take into consideration that they, you know, they've been through some stuff. And maybe they're never going to vibe to this vibration. Or maybe, like, for instance, okay, maybe they won't use a cell phone or won't text. You know, that could be like a real mundane thing. Well, maybe can't you just pick up the phone and give them a call and talk to them over the phone if they don't want to text or use the cell phone or whatever, or email, you know? So they're not going to really change, you know. That's the thing. And there can be some appeasement, or some appeasement isn't the right word. It's understanding. It's compassion. And this is very much youthful exuberance over here, Venus and Uranus and Aries. This is youthful exuberance. This is young love too. This is definitely love coming out of nowhere too. Especially if you have anything at these middle degrees of Aries. If it's your Sun, Venus, Mars, 7th house, if you have Libra rising and your 7th house is Aries, out of nowhere, something could happen. You know, be ready. You know, expect the unexpected. Well, expect the unexpected, period. The other thing is with Venus being relating to money. Uranus could be, again, out of the blue opportunity that just drops in your lap out of nowhere. Also, things that come through the internet and this modern technology. So if you were looking for love, maybe this is a good time to Venus conjunct Uranus, join one of these dating sites or something, or post your profile somewhere. If you are looking for work or looking for a job, maybe you should go cruise the online job boards, or sign up for some online things, or send out those email blasts if people still do that. So there's good that can come out of it, and good that can come out of changing the status quo. So even in your own personal life, if the status quo has been, I'm unhappy in my relationship, bam, it could change. Venus, you can maybe meet somebody new, or something could change. Or I'm unhappy with my lack of relationship, even. Boom, you can meet somebody. I hate my job. I hate this old dirty job that I have to do. Bam, something could pop out of nowhere, an opportunity. With Uranus, though, there's no, and Uranus in Aries especially, there's no time to think about it. You got to act. It's like action time. It comes in and it's gone just that quick. If you don't grab it, get in while the gooding's good, and grab onto that action, it could be gone just as quickly as it showed up here. So if you're way down in this heavy, stodgy, old energy, you may try not to be. Try to be open. Try to be flexible. Don't you be the old, stodgy old man who doesn't want to use the cell phone, or whatever the case may be. And full moon in Scorpio too is going within. It totally is going within, and Saturn is going within. So these are going within yourself. Before you accuse me, take a look at yourself. So, and that is true anyway. All the things that annoy us about other people, it always is just some mirror about something within ourselves. So, and people will say, it's like, you just got to get over that. It's like, well, I never did that. It's not always verbatim. It's not always word for word. But I guarantee you it's probably relating to something that's going on within yourself. The other thing I wanted to look at over here, this just popped out at me. I know the asteroids, a lot of people don't pay much mind to them, but it just kind of popped at me. It is Pallas at 29 Leo, just about to, Pallas is going to turn the corner into Virgo. That 29 Leo, though, I believe that is that Regulus point. I'm not sure, but there's that royalty point. I'm pretty sure it's 29 Leo. And there's some relation to royalty. So there's some relation to something royalty, and it's also trining the south node here and sextiling the north node. So I'm wondering if something might come up with somebody in royalty, or some kind of royal family kind of thing like that might pop up, some kind of news around that time. I mean, I usually don't do that kind of astrology, but that just kind of hit me. I thought I'd throw it out there. Well, we'll see. Okay, so the big thing is I'm feeling compassion. I'm feeling with Venus, with Uranus, we can have change through harmonious. Mercury speaking words of wisdom, I wanted to say, just from that song again. But I would meant to say speaking words of beauty, speaking pleasing words to this other entity, the they out there, the old establishment, the they. They always do this, they, whoever they might be. Or is they the part of yourself or your own ancestry too? Big time with Capricorn and Saturn. This is that mutual reception energy. Pluto rules Scorpio, Saturn rules Capricorn. These are your ancestors. Is this just some crap that you're carrying around that was passed down through your ancestor, these automatic programmings? And if that's so, do you want to change it? Do you want to go in a different direction? And just saying, moon in Taurus, new moon, full moon in Scorpio, but the sun is in Taurus. So as in addition to Jupiter being a place to shine, or the outlet, the sun is always a place to shine. So shine through Taurian activities. Tauruses can be stubborn, and Scorpios too. They're the fixed signs, But I also want to say, and this Pallas is squaring in there too. That's one of the other fixed signs of Leo. It's a wide orb square here. But Tauruses, maybe they're stubborn, but I'd say one thing for Tauruses, they're usually pretty fair. They think things over and make a wise and fair decision. They don't rush to judgment. They don't rush into everything. Tauruses always like to, chew the cod, chew it up. Like the bull, they chew the cod, they think it over. They're slow moving. They're deliberate. That's another thing about Tauruses. being fixed when they do make changes, again, just like the Saturn energy, it's for usually pretty long term. I mean, Tauruses can change. And Tauruses are, I think of Taurus like the emperor in the tarot. The fair and just ruler, or the judge of a courtroom, willing to hear all sides and then make a fair judgment. So I think people are going to be more, not so much in their, these ridiculous things that people throw out there, all this false propaganda. I think a lot of that might be able to be set aside, get to the real meat of the matter, the real truth, make informed decisions for change, with Venus and Libra energy activated, which is the ruler of, and also Taurus is ruled by Venus. Make changes in a peaceful way. Be open to Libra, to be open to compromise, because Libras do want balance. And it is the scales of justice, and they do want balance, and they do want everybody to have their day or their time, hear all sides to the case and make a fair and just ruling. Okay, so full moon Scorpio with the Grand Cross, but I'm liking it. I like this is so crystalline and perfect, and the diamond rotating. That's the part that really gets to me. Okay, real quick, I wanted to talk about my book again. I want to thank people who've been buying it. I want to thank everybody for buying the book, and I want to thank everybody for leaving some reviews on Amazon. I checked the other day. I saw a few people had left reviews. Thank you for that. It's a tarot book, but it's easy to understand, and it's in plain speech like I speak. So that's one of the things that it has going for from other tarot books. Another thing I do that a lot of tarot books don't is I give interpretations as they relate to other cards. Because you can't just read the tarot at one card at a time. You got to tie it all together, just like you tie the chart all together. And thank you everybody who's been donating. I mean, I really appreciate that. It is making it worthwhile to do these free readings all the time. Thank you for watching and sharing and liking and commenting on my videos. Remember that you are love and beauty incarnate, and I'll speak to you soon.